Welcome to Doctors at Work. My name's Matt Daniel, and this podcast is part of my mission to help doctors create successful and meaningful careers. Today's podcast is about personal branding, and I'm having a discussion with Greg Williams. Now, some of you will be thinking, what on earth is personal branding? But for some of the rest of you, you will know that this is something that's really important. We talk about where our reputation comes from, and we also talk about the importance of digital presence, which of course is something that needs to be handled sensitively, because whatever we put in the digital world is likely to be there forever, and that will be how people will see us as a professional. There are of course benefits to having a positive personal brand. That might be financial, particularly if you work in the private system, or it might be reputational. But there are also costs, including professional help and the headspace needed to change and maintain one's branding. Now, changing a personal brand is definitely possible, and indeed it might be desirable as the world around us is changing all the time. Welcome, Greg. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hey, what's going on, Matt? And I guess to all of Matt's listeners, I always like to bring the audience in. Come in. And if you're listening to this, then you're missing out on the video portion because I have this cool, like royalish background. It has crowns and it's all regal. And people usually ask me, well, why do you use such a flamboyant background? Because it's a great conversation starter. It's kind of like when you walk into a bar or into a establishment and you're trying to get to know people. People want to connect with you based upon, unfortunately, their biases. What are they used to? What do they like? And if they see something that pops out to them, they'll ask questions. So I guess, Matt, we're going to get into some asking questions, right? Personal branding. But my name is Greg Williams. I am a on-air personality for paradedeck.com. I also, work in municipal government. That's my day job, yes. And then at night, I turn into a on-air personality. And don't ask me why. Uh, but I also serve in the U.S. Army Reserve, where I do public affairs and tell, the U.S. Army Reserve story, which is marketing in itself. And I've been in the marketing industry for close to 20 years. Yes, don't let this face fool you. It has been through a lot.
Or maybe you've just had lots of plastic surgery, Greg, by somebody, some plastic surgeon that has an
I
amazing
mean,
reputation.
they
And
said
yeah.
They said, as long as you eat chicken, you should be good. And I love chicken. That's my favorite thing. So for all you chicken lovers, you love baked chicken, fried chicken, that is where you and I commune together.
So the topic today is personal branding, and I know that there'll be some people listening who will really understand what that is. There'll be some people listening who are going to say, "I have no idea what that is, and I've no idea how this is relevant to me." I think that the concept that probably all of us as physicians will understand will be our reputations. Yeah, no matter what sector you work in, no matter how senior or how junior you are, all of us will understand that we have a reputation. So why does having a reputation, why does that matter in the professional world?
So the best way I could put it is, and the reason why it's more important than ever as a medical professional, as a doctor, even as a nurse physician. Um, People trust you because they have agreed to trust the science and they have agreed to trust evidence-based conclusions. There are some people that will go to see their doctor, they'll go to see her or him or they, and they see them because they trust them. They see them because they have invested in that medical professional. There are others that they have to get prodded by their family. Hey, you should go see a doctor. And then half of them or most of them will say, nah, I'll push it off, you know. And then there are those that they honestly just do it because that is what society tells them to do. So there are three classifications. And at the end of the day, personal branding is important because you have to hit those three communities. You have to hit those that are conforming to their societal standards wherever they are geographically. You have to hit that community that is poked and prodded their family because they have people that are invested in their health.
Yeah.
And then you have to hit the last community because there are people that are already invested in their health and they trust what you have to say.
Mm.
So that is why personal branding is important. And it comes from a place at the end of the day from authenticity. And I guess we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, yeah. Just before we go there, I mean, how does the public know the reputation of a certain doctor?
We have the power of the internet. We have the power of the internet. I liken I liken this example to social media. Um, Basically, if I cannot find you on Instagram, if I can't find you on Facebook, if I can't find you on X, I can't even find an old MySpace page. I can't find any digital footprint. Then back in the day, back in the 1950s, at least in America, I'm just talking from the perspective of Americans, you had the telephone book. And when you wanted to find a medical professional, you looked up doctor, 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 doctor. And if they were not in the yellow pages, did you really trust them?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing today. Do you have a digital footprint? How large is that digital footprint? And what has been said about you on the web?
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the US, we have the Better Business Bureau, where people can say, I ordered this coffee maker and it was crap. Oh, I ordered from this company. They had the best customer service. It's the same thing for medical professionals. Look at your personal brand like a product.
Yeah.
I hate to say it to you, but you're a human product.
Yeah. And there's a real challenge in here because I guess that if you talk about that online presence, we're all individuals, we all have opinions, we all feel strongly about stuff. So it's that, if somebody were to look me up or you up, what do they see? Do they see my personal life, or do they see my professional brand, or a mixture of the two? And where does one start and the other one end? So it sounds like a rather quite a dangerous territory, I think.
It can be. It can be, but there's something that really holds us all back. It's a term. It's a term that is becoming more popular today. Imposter syndrome. A lot of medical professionals have to realize that you will already have what we call clout. Clout is a term that the young people use to say you have this credibility, you have this aura, maybe. Oh my gosh, doctor. Because they trust the degree, they trust the two letters and that period before your name. And when you have that title, well, why do I feel I would have imposter syndrome? Because you're so used to working with people, you're so used to utilizing your instruments and working for your organization that when you have to translate that into data and digital, can I take my practice and make it practical for people online? So you start off thinking, and we all should know the four P's of imposter syndrome: perfectionism, paralysis, procrastination, and people pleasing. And I'm going to say it one more time. Perfectionism. I have to make sure that people know that I have a high success rate for treating my patients. So I have to be perfect. Paralysis. I may not want to, dedicate so much time in this field. I may want to niche down, which we're going to talk about later. Niching down, which is when you have so many talents and you can work in so many fields, but you want to constrict yourself to one because I want to just focus on that and I want to feel comfortable. That's paralysis, really, because when you're just working on one, that means you're not giving other industries or other practices or other avenues a chance. People pleasing, because being a medical professional is all about customer service as well. You know, back in the day, remember when you used to go to your doctor as a young child and then, hey, here's a lollipop. And you're like, oh, it's not the lollipop. You heard me, but I like the lollipop. What lollipop are you giving to your customers today? And then last but not least, the killer of everything, procrastination. Ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you doing to put yourself out there? What are you doing to work on your brand, your product? Are you just going on Canva and making that logo? No shade against Canva. I love Canva. Canva has saved my life many a times. Or are you actually sitting down with a graphic artist who can, their job is to take your story and make it into a visual representation of you?
Yeah. You've used the term personal branding. So I mean, what is personal branding?
To me, and this is why, everybody that is watching this, I have the crown. I am the king of nothing and I know nothing. And by me taking on that moniker, that means that I am open to learning every day. So personal branding to me is introducing yourself or introducing a product to a market or assimilating yourself or a product to a market. There are two avenues, I think, two avenues. When you're either introducing yourself because you're new to the game, you're working in medicine now, and this is you're within your first 1 to 5 year window, so you're trying to get your feet wet, in the medical field, or you're assimilating or acclimating. You should never assimilate. Assimilate is such a hard word. Acclimate. You're changing with the temperature of the industry. You're noticing that more people are veering towards a certain way of being healed
Mhm.
or seeking a different way of being healed. And then you're conforming to that.
Mhm.
Because you have to change with your industries. Evolution does not stop. So if you're in the medical field, let's be for real. At the end of the day, it's about the profits, baby. It's about the dollar bills, y'all, in the US, wherever you are. It's about, do you have a high uh uh caseload? And the higher caseload you have, that means the more people trust in you and the more reputable you are, and the more people want to see you. Whereas maybe you only have one appointment a day. What does that really say? That either says you're disconnected from your community or that says, hey, you need to do more work.
Yeah. And I think even outside of the for-profit system, because if I think some of this will resonate with people around the world, if people work in that for-profit system, because the reality is that you need to get patients through your office, yeah. But actually, even if I think of that for people that work purely in public sectors, yeah, I only work in a public sector system, for example. So even in that, it's that for me it's about that reputation. And maybe I wonder something about an ego. It's lovely to know there's lots of people waiting to see me. It's great to know that I have lots of work. And also if I have lots of work, then that means that I can do additional stuff, or I can pick and choose what I say yes to or no to. If I don't have very much work, then that means that then I just have to do whatever people want me to do. But if I'm busy and if I have a high workload, then I get to pick and choose the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. So I think
Matt,
it's
can
very
I
much a
challenge you?
blend. Yeah.
Matt, can I challenge your bias right now? I
Oh,
want
go
to
for it.
challenge your
Yeah.
bias.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's go for it. You have two doctors. You don't know their gender, you don't know their sex, you don't know their ethnicity. All I can tell you is this. You have Dr. A, and I say, Matt, Dr. A has written a book. Dr. A has done television appearances, and Dr. A has been put on TED Talk. They've been seen by thousands of people. Then you have Dr. B. Dr. B has worked in the medical field for 30 plus years, and their practice has been around for 30 plus years. Matt, which doctor are you more likely to go to?
I hope you're enjoying the show. Please click subscribe so you'll be notified when new episodes become available. This podcast is part of my mission to help doctors create successful and meaningful careers. You can be part of that mission too by forwarding this show to one person who you think might benefit from listening. Thank you. Now on with the show. Me personally,
You personally.
the second one.
So you value experience over pizzazz.
Personally, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Personally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now your listeners are doing the same thing.
But I tell you sort of, Greg, what I would do and what I have done is sort of when that's kind of come to my own healthcare or the healthcare of my nearest and dearest, I've very much done I've done my due diligence, and I've kind of, and normally the people that I normally ask is the anaesthetist that a surgeon works with, because the anaesthetist is normally the best person to know whether a surgeon is any good or not. So I guess is that I it's the actually I can take it back. It's not the experience; it's the quality of what they do. Yeah. But for me as a quality, sort of, I would go and I would ask questions, and the colleagues. The problem with that for the general public is the general public doesn't have access to that. Yeah. I'm a doctor, so I have access to other doctors and say, oh, what's Doctor so and so like? Are they any good? Did they do a good operation? And people will either say yes or no. But the reality is that people in public don't have access to that. And
So you
whatever
acknowledge a privilege then.
I do, yes, that's it. That's what I'm acknowledging.
Now for all your medical professionals, it should be clicking.
Yeah,
I can't think about the privilege that I have.
yeah,
I have to think about the people that
yeah,
need to be there.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Um, okay, so the other thing, sort of that we kind of talked about, reputation, um, uh, is um, is the interprofessional stuff. Because again, we largely talked about how somebody who works in a commercial world might sort of attract patients, but actually the stuff that also very much happens is who does one refer to, sort of, whereas somebody in primary care, who does primary care refer to, or if you're a specialist referring from one specialist to the next, who do you refer to, and that also is I think for me very very relevant, whether that's to do with billing or whether that's to do with ego or prestige or choice, whatever it might be, doesn't matter. But that kind of interpersonal thing from one professional to another, that very much is a really key thing. Yeah, I mean, how can you
So,
go on? Yeah,
so that goes to personal branding.
yeah,
You would be a fool to think that your personal branding is only for the consumer and not for your peers. You'd be just shooting something in the air and wishing for something to drop out of the sky to think that way. Why? Because you've lost total focus. When you get up in the morning and you are afforded the opportunity to take a breath in and go out into the world, you have to understand that you are interacting with multiple communities. Your family is your community.
mhm,
Your friends are your community. Your colleagues are your community. The people that you serve, people that see you, professionally, whether you work as a sanitation worker or a teacher or a doctor, whatever. You have people that need a service from you. They are looking at you. It's all personal branding. And one thing is you have to understand that the way that you are seen by the consumer is sometimes the same way that you are being seen by your peers.
yeah,
And we go back to that example of the doctor that has been on TV, national or international recognition. They have a following, thousands of people following them. They have a high influential rate
yeah,
as opposed to the person that just has experience.
yeah.
I will tell you right now, the person that has the following makes the most money
I'm sure.
and they can tap into their resources of 10 to 20 other doctors, just like the one that has 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
And I would value that more, just me, I would value that more because you have more resources.
Yeah.
I can use you for more leverage.
Yeah.
I can dependability, a big factor of personal branding.
Yeah.
Why is dependability a big factor? Because at the end of the day, it's all about customer service as well. It's all about interpersonal relationships.
Mm.
So yeah, that's honestly where I come with it. Where it comes to, well, who's in your network? I'll be honest with you, Matt. Most oftentimes, if you have a friend and they got a little bit of clout, for us in the US, if I said, hey, I know Dr. Phil, I can make somebody go out of network. Oh, they're not even oh, I want, Dr. Because the name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have sort of that kind of like, in New York City where there are certain doctors. Oh, I know this doctor so and so. What? They're on Wall Street. I gotta go. Yeah, you're gonna pay a little bit more. Yeah, I'll pay a little bit more because they're paying for the name.
Yeah. 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 No,
It's crazy that you would pay for healthcare just like you would pay for designer brand. It's a comfort of mind thing.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I have no doubt that that's the case. How does it develop? How does a personal brand develop? What goes into it?
So three things have to go into it. And let's get into the meat and potatoes right now. Three things. So I read an article and Forbes.com, and the author said three things go into personal branding, which is authenticity, empathy, and evolution. Authenticity, empathy, and evolution.
Hmm.
And then I said, nope, I differ. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. For me, it's about these three things: marketability, reputability, and dependability.
Hmm.
Let's start with marketability. So, according to the US Chamber of Commerce, back in 2021, 2022, they did a survey, and the US Chamber of Commerce said half of brand first impressions are visual. And I had to look at that from two perspectives. They're saying that half of the people, when they see a brand, they will depend on that brand depending on the logo. It spoke to them.
Yeah.
When you see that swish, Nike, I'm an athlete. When you see Volvo, oh, I want to drive that car. But then the other half, I said, well, I wonder why. And there's a baked in niche community, and I want to challenge your listeners to think about how they would communicate more effectively with this community. Neurodivergent individuals, people who may not be able to see, who have low impaired visioning, people that are, let's just say, being inflicted with, have a lot of afflictions physically. Those are the people that need catering to as well, because they may not be able to take in the information, as easily as others. And are you marketing to them? What is your marketability to everyone? That is the key right there. How can you speak to, or how can you reach multiple communities? And the second one is reputability. Your reputation. We just talked about it.
Yeah.
According to Edelman survey brand company, 81% of the people will trust a brand based upon its reputation. Your reputation precedes you.
Yeah.
When I gave you those two examples of the doctor who's been on TV, who's done the TED Talks, people will trust that more than the 30-year profession because they trust TED Talk. They trust their local news. They consume and they trust all of the media. What are you doing as a medical professional? Are you doing even community access television, which community access television, if you are in a geographical location, is nothing but your your miniature medium for communications. It's not even like a news channel. It is the underling of a news channel. Are you hitting those people? Are you having articles written about you in your local newspaper? Or if you're in a community where people are more oratory, are people talking about you? You know, that all is baked into reputability. And then dependability. Like I said, it's about customer service. It's about building that relationship. Remember when you went to the doctor just because they gave you a lollipop? That lollipop was a olive branch. Let's have this relationship. And you've been kind of conditioned like that, even now, where you don't exchange maybe a piece of candy, but you exchange a smile and they get to know you. And you know Sarah, John, Dexter, Shaniqua, you get to know that person and you can say, hey, how's your child? How's your children? Hey, did you finish that school assignment? That's dependability because I can depend on you to know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are my three.
Yeah. And that sounds, I'm trying to think, okay, so those are the three things that might go into it all. And I'm thinking, if I wanted to change, or if I sort of say, okay, well, I am where I am, or whoever's listening, you are where you are, and if you kind of think, okay, I want to do differently. I mean, how does one? I mean, should one change one's personal brand? How do you change your personal brand? You talked about authenticity, and niche.
Yeah.
Where does that fit into? Should you do it? Can you do it?
So remember where I said that the second part of personal branding is acclimating or
Yeah,
assimilating? Acclimation is nothing but changing your body temperature or conforming to the environment. Heck yeah. These million billion dollar brands do it every day.
yeah.
You know what we say, change with the times. Yes, you can rebrand yourself every single day,
Okay.
but there is a cost, and you have to acknowledge that cost. There are two costs that are going to incur when you rebrand: the physical cost and the mental cost.
Mhm.
And you know the saying, it costs to be the boss. So let's talk about the rebranding from a dollar standpoint, because that's really kind of where it's going to end. We're not even going to talk about where it starts with the mental aspect. Let's talk about dollar bills, okay? Did you create your logo, or did somebody create it for you? Did you create your website, or did somebody create it for you? And now your communication, your content, are you doing it yourself, or did somebody do it for you? My biggest thing is I like people to feel comfortable, and I like them to know that good meat is not cheap. Cheap meat is not good. I was told that by a good friend of mine, Chris Carter. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. He plays American football. And he always told me that. He's like, Greg, good meat, not cheap. Cheap meat, not good. And I always say that to myself every day for the past couple of years, because I know the quality of work that I do, that I put out there, it's not cheap. If I'm here to help you, you're going to get all of me. You're going to get all of my knowledge. You're going to get all of my network.
Mhm.
So when you're rebranding yourself, that is really what you're investing in. People are going to get all of me. They're going to get all of my knowledge. They're going to get all of my network. Now I just have to repackage it. Did you know that there is actually statistical research that is done on the color of logos, Matt?
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
So you may be a doctor and you may say, well, my name is written in a bold italic, and now I want to rebrand. Maybe I should put it in a Times New Roman format with a curvature, with a blue stripe, because the blue will pop out and people will appeal to it. that costs money.
Yeah.
And that portion, I don't think a lot of people understand that you have to invest in market research. It is so important. You can't know where you're going to go unless you know where you've been.
Yeah.
So that's the budget. That's the money part. That's the physical part.
Yeah.
Now the mental aspect that you have to pay. It takes energy. It takes time. And you really have to do a lot of introspective questioning. Am I prepared to pay this money? Am I prepared to invest? Who am I going to talk to? How many people do I want to reach? Do you fundamentally understand that Gen X, 28 to 35-year-olds, they're using Instagram now for information. And everybody that's like 45 and older, we Google. Don't you like get surprised when somebody's like, oh, I can find the answer Google, Yahoo, Bing, or whatever your internet search engine is. And you're like, you're trusting that? You're trusting the computer? While other people are like on the gram, like, yeah, I'm gonna trust these stories. I'm gonna trust these reels. Do you understand that? Do you understand the language of the web?
Mhm. And
So
and
yeah.
certainly, and that's if I think making some of those decisions, I think for me personally, when I've been involved in some of this previously, it's very challenging, and there is very much, as you say, a kind of generational gap in that as well, about where different people get information. Okay, so tell me, you sort of, you said that a real key thing in all of this is authenticities. Can you tell me a bit more about the importance of authenticity when it comes to personal branding?
You have to feel comfortable with you.
Mhm.
People do not understand that when it comes to personal branding and you're either introducing yourself or you're acclimating yourself, you have to be so comfortable with yourself and who you are because of so many external factors. You have to be comfortable with yourself because maybe you may not understand that one bad review, that one negative patient review can have so many layers, so many points of impact that might negatively affect your business.
Mhm.
Can you go to bed at night saying, you know what? I know who I am. I know what my hands can do. I know how my mind can think. I am totally invested in myself.
Mhm.
That's not going to impact. That's not going to affect. And that's where the authenticity lies.
Mhm.
I know who I am as a person. I know what I'm capable of. I trust myself. I invest in myself. I believe that I can win no matter what the world tells
Mhm.
me. And that's where I said the imposter syndrome comes into play because you have to really be self aware to know that you're never always going to be perfect. You're at times going to be stuck. You're going to be paralyzed. At some times or some point in your life, sometimes you're just not going to be able to please everyone. And you're not it's not always going to happen. You're going to procrastinate, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a breath. Just don't stay stuck in the mud for long amounts of time.
Yeah. I wonder, Greg, if I could bring us to a close. I know we covered lots and lots of different aspects. Could I ask you to summarize and maybe tell me what would be your top tips for doctors at work?
Sure, you are who you are. Say who you are to everybody that will listen. Don't ever believe that you are an imposter in your own field. You own who you are. If you're watching me, I own who I am. That's why I have the crown, the king of not knowing anything at all, but embracing everything. And remember, your logo, everything about personal branding, from your logo, which tells a story, it should tell a story. You know, it's all marketing. You're marketing to your family, you're marketing to your friends, you're marketing to your peers, and you're marketing to the everyday consumer. And as long as you know that who you are when you step out into this world is always marketing, you'll get it. You'll get it with time and you'll get it with patience.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Matt.